your values of family and enjoyment, that for all of us needs to be aligned. Most people have values that are in conflict. So we get people aligned on what their values are, what is most important, because your values determine where you put your time, energy, and effort. If those are not aligned, then your time, energy, and effort will be all over the place. And so that's an important point that you mentioned.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
What is going on, Men of Abundance? I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast, the Pay It Forward community, showing you how you can live a life of abundance and prosperity on your way to having more. And despite what you may believe or what you've been told, there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting more. The thought process stems from, by having more, you're taking from other people, and that is a scarcity mindset. We are abundant leaders and we think abundantly, so we know that by having more, we are not taking from other people, we are creating more. And by having more relationships, more connections, and yes, more money, we are able to contribute more and more richly to other people's lives. And today we're talking about having more time, creating more time. It is actually possible, and we're going to have that conversation today. And since this podcast is about abundance and paying it forward, I'm going to afford you the opportunity to be abundant in your actions today by paying it forward to others and sharing Men of Abundance with everyone you come in contact with. Don't discriminate. You never know who is going to benefit from these conversations. And it is so easy to share. It only takes a few seconds. All you have to do is go to menofabundance.com, click on the podcast tab, and underneath any one of the podcasts, you will find a purple share button. When you click on that or hover over it, the Facebook option, Twitter, and Google Plus options will all pop up. Share on one or all, or just share menofabundance.com in an email, Facebook, whatever it is that you want to do. Or you can share directly from your podcast player that you're listening to this on right now. Hey, I greatly appreciate it, but more importantly, those that you share it with will appreciate it even more. Now, our featured guest today is an author, speaker, researcher, and performance expert considered one of the leading authorities on the connection between time, productivity, and performance. He is a former Chicago Golden Glove boxer and Illinois state heavyweight champion. He is dubbed the Velvet Hammer for his uniquely fierce and compassionate no-holds-barred style. He has been featured as a keynote speaker and performance expert on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Style, and Esquire TV, and has worked with a variety of organizations including Jimmy Kimmel Live, the United States Military, Citibank, Wells Fargo, the Los Angeles Police Department, and many others. Men of Abundance, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Stephen Griffith. Stephen, welcome to Men of Abundance, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Wally. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, it's my pleasure. Absolutely love it. I'm excited about this conversation today, but before we get started, where are you at in the world?
I'm here in Newport Beach, California, originally from Chicago, but I relocated out to the West Coast several years ago.
What took you out there?
Going to graduate school, and I just wanted to get out to the modern gold rush of the sunny California.
I hear you. I hear that, man. So, yeah, definitely a big change from Chicago to Cali, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But great weather. I love it.
Yeah. I've been to San Diego. I've been to a couple other places in California, and it's always really nice.
Yes.
Cool. So I like to start out with an attitude of gratitude, man. What do you have to be grateful for today?
Oh, man, so much. But I'll break it down. I'm really grateful that I'm of sound mind and body and able to be of service, deliver, what my gifts and talents are. And also, I'm really grateful for all the people that helped me get here. And, there's lots of them, there's a lot. And each one of them had an impact on me. And I always say this, Wally, we always do it ourselves, but we never do it alone. And I'm so grateful for all the people that gave of themselves to me and paid it forward to me.
That's an awesome statement, man. I absolutely love that. I'm gonna borrow that. I'll give you credit a couple times.
You got it. You got it.
All mine.
I love your style already, Wally. I'm sure I'm going to do the same today.
Awesome. Yeah, I really dig that. I really do, man. Because even the ones that we would rather have not encountered have an impact in who we are and what we do.
You got right. You got that. And sometimes it's the biggest impact.
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely.
Yep.
It's a very, very true statement, man.
Yep.
So, I spoke a little bit about you when we got started here. Here on Men of Abundance, we like to get to know the man behind the abundance. So if you would, how would you describe yourself?
Oh, good. Great question. So I think, when I think about that, I think grit comes up really strongly for me. My mom raised me and my brother, and it wasn't actually until I wrote the book here, The Time Cleanse, that I realized that my grit came from my mom. And, she raised me and my brother, and, she did it all on her own, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And so grit is a big part of who I am and, facing adversity and continue to move forward. But also, being compassionate and empathetic to the people in my life and really to live that way and to give more than I take. And I think that's really, I think grit's the thing, to be relentless and help the people in my life, myself, and make it a better place.
Kudos out to your mom, man, and all the moms out there who, all the moms, period, but especially those who find themselves raising children on their own and working and doing everything else that they have to do. It's just an unbelievable thing to do. I mean, they're underappreciated, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of the reasons, big reasons for me, Wally, about helping people get their time back, especially single and working moms, but everyone, because I saw my mom have no time. All she did was work and take care of us. And that stuck with me and still sticks with me.
Time is extremely important to me. It's one of the things that I do as a business and life strategist is I help people find time in their business, improve their business and their life, without putting more time into their business. And I know we're going to get much more into that.
Sure.
But even before we get into that part, I'd like to get into this kick in the gut moment. And the reason why I like to bring this up right up front is because sometimes this is what changes the trajectory of our lives. Not always, but sometimes it does. But if you would, share a kick in the gut moment with us and really make us feel that.
Yeah. So this kick in the gut's is going to be a triple for you. So my college career, I played football. I was a tight end, and I was a good athlete. But coming out of high school, I was a tall, skinny kid, 6'4", about 170 pounds, and no schools were recruiting a string bean. So I committed myself. Went to a junior college. 2 years later, I was 6'5", about 230 pounds, and on every recruiting list, I just worked my ass off. And on the fifth game of that season, with the stands filled with college scouts, on a spectacular catch, I tore my hamstring, and rehabbed. Got back 6 games later, got a scholarship, Division I scholarship. The first day of spring practice, I tore my hamstring again. And after the second hamstring tear, I mean, these are the highs and lows of just, at the time, to be honest with you, the only value I had as a human being was being as an athlete. I had super low self-esteem, and the only thing that made me feel like I was worth anything was being an athlete. I changed schools and went to an NAI school and got a season in, still wasn't 100%. And on senior pro timing day, in front of 5 pro scouts, I ran the fastest 40-yard I ever ran. And as I crossed the line, tumbled onto the asphalt, and I tore my hamstring a third time. And, it was a kick in the gut, but at the end of the day, after another year of trying, going back to camp, I woke up one day and I just realized something. I realized that I no longer wanted to play football. And the only thing I was chasing was trying to be successful and not fail. But the reality was I was failing myself. I really didn't want to play football anymore. It was painful for me, and time had passed me by. And in that moment, I realized I got to shift gears. I got to do something else with my time. But it was really an eye-opener at 13 years old, making a decision. I'm going to be a pro player. And at 24, nearly 300 pounds, realizing, oh my God, life had passed me by. So that's my kick in the gut.
What did you get out of that? What was your takeaway from that whole process?
So two things, built tremendous grit and determination, right? But what I realized was I was operating on an old set of values and beliefs, that the only way Stephen would be valuable or could be successful or happy was playing football. And that had passed me by and I didn't see it. And I wasted so much time and it was in so much pain chasing something that no longer was connected to who I was.
Excellent point. Yeah. And two takeaways that I want to put in there, guys, is two things that I talk about on a regular is, one, identity. We all have this identity. It's either our vocation or, something of that nature. And when that's taken away from you, then a lot of guys really lose themselves. They lose that identity. And you got to realize that that's what you do. That's not necessarily your identity. The other part to that is this whole concept of never quit. I don't subscribe to that. Because of personal experiences in my own life, which I won't get into right now. I've talked about this before. But the fact of the matter is sometimes the universe, God, is telling you they have another plan for you. And if what you're trying to do, the way you're trying to do it, isn't working time and time and time again, and it's even costing you your health, it's costing you, relationships, it might be time to quit. And what I mean by quit that particular process to get to where you want to go. Does that make sense? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think as men, I can speak for myself and working with lots of men over the, many years of my career, is that we're taught if you quit, and this is the old school, like you're weak, you failed. And what I was doing, I was failing myself, my true self. It was like, when I tell the story, I've told it hundreds of times, I tell it in the book, is people are like, oh my God, what were you thinking? The fact is I wasn't thinking. And I programmed that if I quit, for me, and I think we're talking the same language, quitting was the ultimate sign of a loser.
Right.
Yeah. And that's further from the truth, because you just said it. Sometimes the universe is talking to you.
Yeah. Sometimes, guys, it's important for you to make those decisions for yourself. Don't worry about what other people are thinking about you. And that's one of the biggest problems so many guys have.
Absolutely.
So again, thanks for sharing that, because that is a very important lesson to learn there. So let's get into this time thing, man. Everybody wants more time in their life, and I was literally just listening just this morning to the Jordan Harbinger show. And one of the things they were talking about was how social media can take up so much of our time. And I forget who he was talking to. I'll have to look it up later, who he was talking to specifically on this. But I learned a new term called content switching, and meaning that people think that they can multitask. And this is one of the things that takes up a lot of our brain capacity and therefore taking up a lot of our time.
Absolutely.
But your book touches on a lot of this, being able to get your time back, basically, and the time cleanse. What is that, and what does that mean?
Yeah. So I love how you just led me into that, because I'm going to talk to you about mindful multitasking and the difference between multitasking and task switching, because it's a game changer. We'll get to that, but I want to start with, so the time cleanse is something that I developed over the last 5 years. I've been a performance coach for 20 plus, but 5 years ago, Wally, I saw an absolute crisis show up. In 1 week, corporate, individual, and teamwork, every single client said to me, I don't have enough time. And I looked at that and I'm like, and I felt it in my own life. And I said, why is this happening out of nowhere? I've been coaching CEOs and entrepreneurs, business owners for 20 plus years. And literally in 1 week, every single conversation was the same. I don't have enough time. I'm stressed out. I don't have enough energy. And so I spent the last 5 years that developed, this book, and looked at why is it that we're out of time? And that went from traveling to Thailand to, work with the Buddhist monks there, and in Japan, neuroscientists, mindfulness, performance psychology, even some of Einstein's theories. And what I came up with is this. It's very interesting today. The biggest shift is our technology use, and our relationship with time is now behind. It's outdated. And most people have an adversarial relationship with time and are trying to manage time, which does not work today in this 24/7 connected technology world. It just doesn't work. And so what I discovered was how to shift your relationship with time and to move it into time performance. And then also what I discovered is the amount of toxins that are in people's lives. And that's where the Time Cleanse name came from, is the process of evaluating every single area of your life, the people you're with, your thoughts, your beliefs, your activities, the possessions you own, all the areas. I have 8 areas in the cleanse. And then asking yourself, after you identify each and every one of them, is this contributing or contaminating to my happiness and success? And in the process, I take people through how to determine if it is. And then what we do is then we cleanse that time and reclaim time. And average person will get up to 20 hours or more a week. And then what we do, Wally, with that time that's been cleansed and reclaimed, then we reinvest it in what I call high ROT activities, return on time activities. And I heard you talk about that when we started the show about, what you do in your coaching, getting people to focus on those activities. I call it ROT.
I love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And one of the things, I've seen so many people doing these type of challenges, like a 30-day challenge type of thing to, give up social media, one platform, give up Facebook, give up this, that, and the other. And while they can be beneficial, I look at it like this. If you're a heroin addict and you give it up for 30 days, but then you go back to your old ways, what good was it? Really?
You got it.
Right?
You got
so
it.
You're talking more about not just a cleanse for a temporary time, but to actually get used to the fact of paying close attention to the toxins, the time toxins that are taking up all of your time and robbing you of your productivity.
Absolutely. And the main concept connected to that is shifting your relationship with time. You see, Wally, most people operate is time. They have an adversarial relationship with time, that time is outside of them. You'll hear them say stuff like, if time allows, if my schedule allows. And I simply ask these people, and I asked this of myself 5 years ago because I was doing the same thing. I said, who is time? And I remember, specifically I was on a flight coming back from Reno, and there was a retired school teacher, and she was asking me about the book. I was working on my manuscript. And I said, have you ever used the phrase, if time allows? And she's like, yeah, all the time. And I just looked at her, beautiful lady. I said, who's time? And her jaw dropped, Wally. She goes, I've never asked myself that. Yeah. And so, the reality is when people are stuck and they're struggling or they're stalled, it's really not their fault because they have been trained to believe that time is outside of them and that I've got to fight against it. And so with the time cleanse, we shift our relationship with time, knowing that time comes from us and it's abundant. Old time management strategies are based on a fixed hour and that time is scarce and it causes time pressure. And when you shift that, realizing time comes from you, from your yeses and nos, and that you know how to actually use time, time pressure goes away and your performance increases.
When it comes to time, I used to always think about, I used to watch let's say The Apprentice or any of these other type of programs where, they're trying to get something done and they put a time limit on themselves. And I used to think years ago, I was like, well, why the hell do they put this unrealistic time limit on themselves when they do that? And I forget what it's a theory out there and I can't remember the name of it. I'm losing my mind today. Basically, the bottom line is this. Let's say you got a term paper that's due in 3 months. Well, you're going to wait till the last 3 days to get it done, and you're going to get it done in that 3 days. And it's
Correct.
Probably not going to be nearly as good as if you had done 3 months of research. And there's a term for that, and I can't remember what it is, but the bottom line is this. You put short time limits on yourself because you can get the same amount done in 3 days than you can in 3 months.
You're absolutely 100% correct. I think it's Parkinson's or something like that.
Yeah, like Parkinson's. Something like that.
Yeah, theory. But time will expand to the amount that you have. And when you get focused and know that you're in charge of time, you can perform at a much higher level. And this is where we're moving. In today's age, we're moving into the mindset of performing with time. performing, not managing. Managing's done. We got to start looking at how do I get the most out of my time? Because at the end of the day, this is my philosophy. This is more of the spiritual heart center of the time cleanse. Your time, my time, is based on one thing that it's used for. It's to create memories that matter, that become our legacy. That's what it's for. That's what it's for. At the end of the day, someone says, I've got to do this, this, or this with your time, and I'll just do a question set. It will all come back to having a great experience. But at the end of the day, as a man, that great experience is part of my legacy. And that's what I'm doing with my time every moment, every second. People think about legacy at the end of their life. Legacy is happening right now, and it has been from your very first breath.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. We can just go down a rabbit hole with that, because that is so much why I started this whole abundance journey and this Men of Abundance podcast, to have conversations with guys just like you who freaking get it, that I was that guy. Everything I was doing was for my family, My wife was always like, what the hell are you chasing? I'm doing this for for us. I'm doing this so this, that, and the other, so we can have this and we can do that. And it's like, you freaking have that. You have that in your life right now today. You're just not enjoying it. Now, for me, when it comes to my time, I'm really big. I don't make lists. I have a calendar. And I block time. I block Tuesdays and Thursdays are my podcasting times. I work pretty much everything, all thing podcast, editing, conversations, the whole bit. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are kind of split up between some of my client calls and prospecting, quite frankly, and researching other businesses and learning more. And somewhere in there, it's all about learning. But I have on there also time with family. And white space, quite frankly, for me to just be able to do this. I was able to have this conversation with you today because I created white space for this conversation, because this is a kind of an unscheduled conversation. And thanks to, Interview Valet asked me to do this, and they're just amazing people out there. So I'm more than happy to assist. And when I saw what you were doing, I was like, hell yeah, I got to have this conversation. What are some of your ideas on how to, manage our time, so to speak?
Well, so I'm gonna keep switching that phrase, manage to perform, and that's my philosophy, and that's what I'm supporting you and everyone with. So a couple things, Wally, to begin with. You said something really important about family. One of the things that I take all my clients through, and it's in the Time Cleanse book, is getting your values aligned. Your values of family and enjoyment, that for all of us needs to be aligned. Most people have values that are in conflict. So we get people aligned on what their values are, what is most important, because your values determine where you put your time, energy, and effort. If those are not aligned, then your time, energy, and effort will be all over the place. And so that's an important point that you mentioned, and that when we look at our time, the first thing is to understand what is most important. What am I committed to? You can't be committed to everything, and your values start helping that. But when you go through the time cleanse, it's saying, okay, I'm committed to, I say pick your top 3. And that's where you focus your time. So when you do that, now we look at our schedule. So here's what's important to me. Here's my values. To me, the calendar is everything. If it's not on the calendar in my life, it didn't happen. That's how I run my business. That's how I run my life. And there, as you said, there's white space in there. There's white space. There's space where I can be flexible and have spontaneity. And I'm grateful that you operate that way, because we're here today because of that. And so, the thing that you just said that I coach as well is clustering activity. So here are a couple things that are very valuable to perform with time. Number one, cluster and block out similar activities. Your brain gets more efficient and performs at a higher level when it's doing repetitive, similar activities. So that's one great thing to do. 2, what I do is work rest intervals, shutting off all notifications. Everything on my technology is all shut off. So I then have a focused period of time. I like 55 minutes with a 7-minute rest. It's like intervals, work, rest. And I'll knock out about 2 to 4 of those in a row. I'll take a 30-minute complete break. And then if I'm in a high performance mode, I'll knock a few more of those out. But when we're working like that, completely focused, single task, or clustering in that hour, our productivity 3x's and 5x's than a regular normal day that most people are multitasking. And multitasking, in the book I talk about, it's the killer. It can drop your IQ up to 10 points. When you switch tasks, multitasking is really not doing one thing at a time. People think it is that. True multitasking would be like riding a stationary bike and listening to an audiobook. But what most people confuse it with is task switching. Mm-hmm. And when we're task switching, our cognitive ability just shrinks. I mean, one piece of research at University of California at Irvine, close to my house here actually, showed that it took 23 minutes to fully engage back in a task that was switched from. 23 minutes to go back to its full capacity. And when you look at that and when you see how people are operating, that's why they're stressed. That's why they're overwhelmed, because they're not single focusing. And so the interval is really important. And then also, in that, what I call being present in the moment, but I introduce a phrase called timefulness in the book. And timefulness is connected to mindfulness. It's like a specialized mindfulness, and that's being present in the moment so you can improve the quality, experience, and performance with your time. And that's the mindset that we need, to be in the moment, because that's when we get greater productivity. But here's the thing, the people that are addicted to multitasking, and it's everywhere. People say to me, oh, I'm going to multitask because it's not that important, or this or that. What they don't realize is they're training their brain not to be present. And when you do that, people will miss moments that matter, that you can't get back. Your family, with your career, just in life.
Yeah, I mean, you can go as extreme as looking at people texting and driving. You're going to miss a moment, like, say, a red light or the person slowing down in front of you. And then a lot is going to happen. And then something that maybe is just as tragic as far as I'm concerned is your little one coming in and wanting to have a conversation with you. And you're in the living room watching TV with your phone in your hand, having a conversation with your family and scrolling through Instagram. Yep. And I can hear the anxiety in the room over the airwaves. Yep. People contact me on Messenger. I've actually had people contacting me on Messenger like 4 or 5 times in a row throughout a day. And then they'll leave a comment and say, what, do you not like to have a conversation? It's like, dude, I'm not living on Facebook Messenger. There's time frames when I'm on social media. And even my phone, when I'm done in my office, and my office is right here in my house, my phone and my even my reading glasses stay right here in my office, and I walk over to the living room. I don't hear my phone, and on top of that, it shuts off. It's on Do Not Disturb between the hours of 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. And the people that are closest to me, they know that. That's right. They have conformed to that. They know when they can contact me and when they can't. And I know I'm going to get back to them as soon as I pick up my phone again.
Well, one of the things that is one of the greatest tools to protect your time, and that I coach and write about is being able to say no. Mm-hmm. And I use this phrase: your no to somebody else is your yes to you. Mm-hmm. And what you stand for. And that doesn't mean to be selfish and not to be of service. Of course we want to do that, but most people aren't practiced at saying no. And be really clear, is this aligning? And then going back to, my time cleanse question, which is the core of anything you do. It goes back to, is this contributing or contaminating to my happiness and success? Ask that question before you do anything with your time, and you'll see a transformation happen.
Guys, the reason why I like to have these conversations amongst many other things is because I'm on this journey just like everybody else, man. And I love the idea. I've always been kind of uncomfortable with time management because, you can manage your own time, sure, but I like the fact that you change it to time performing. To me, it just makes a big difference in the whole ideology of the whole bit.
Well, I say this in the intro of the book. I say, your closest relationships, right? Do you want to manage your wife or your children or your parents? No, you want to be in a flow state. You want to be connected. You want to engage. And you want that to be the same thing with time. You want it to be your ally, your friend, something that is supporting you to get what you want. You don't want to manage it. It just doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I like that. It's like the difference between a manager and a leader.
Exactly. And it's just the, this book is the evolution. The Time Cleanse is an evolution to, we started at a point where managing was appropriate. Now we're, these smartphones in our pocket and connected. There's a new way, and there's a new way to get what you want in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. So we are at the point we are going to pay it forward to our abundant leaders. You ready to do that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So share 1 to 3 actionable steps that men of abundance can take today.
Number 1 is claim in a solid way that you own and are responsible for your time, and that it's your most precious and valuable asset. That's the number 1. Number 2, just take a quick look at your life. And evaluate where you're spending your time, your business and personally, and just ask, are the things I'm doing, is that creating happiness and success? Is it contributing to that or contaminating it? And number 3, I would say, is practice the concept of timefulness, being present in the moment so you can improve the quality, experience, and the performance with your time. And when you put those 3 together, you will transform your relationship with time as an ally, as a supporter, as something that will help you get what you want.
I love it. In support of that, I'm going to throw in another question here just for you.
Sure.
Are there any apps or any sort of technology out there that we could harness to assist with any of that?
Sure. Well, one that I like is called Rescue Time. It's something that you can put on your computer. It'll block things. It'll track things. So Rescue Time is one of the apps that I really like. The other thing that I like, that there's many apps for it, is use your timer. Time everything you do. It's the simplest thing. But by setting times for a conversation with a client, a colleague, keeps you on track. And one last thing I want to throw in here, Wally, I can't leave this conversation without sharing this. And you started the conversation with this. It's what I call time cleansing your phone. And your phone is the greatest tool. My phone is the greatest tool to help me to be of service, to be a great leader, and it also has a dark side to it. So one of the things that I do, and it's in the book as well, is how to time cleanse your phone. So 3 things with the phone. I want to throw this in here because it'd be very valuable. Number 1, grayscale your phone. If you grayscale your phone from color to black and white, you won't be as engaged and drawn to it. Number 2, take all notifications off the phone and then move all your apps to the secondary screen. And here's why. When you go to the phone right now, they have thousands of neuroscientists working at Facebook, Instagram, to figure out how to suck you into that phone. And so if you clear the screen, when you pick it up, you will use the phone for what you need it for, not have that phone use you. And that simple cleansing, there's more steps, there's deeper cleanses. Those 3 things right there will save you hundreds of hours a year because now you're in charge of your technology. I had to throw that in there, buddy.
Oh, I absolutely appreciate that, man. That is excellent. I love it. And I think, I know some of the newer iPhones that are coming out, and there's also apps out there that it tracks your time, your screen time, and it tells you how much time you're spending on each app. And if Instagram and Facebook are at the top of that list when you check it, hey, you just got to take personal inventory of it, if that's beneficial for you or not. I can't say that is or not. That's up to you. But it's an eye-opener for sure.
I love how you language that, right? Because we all have our own values and our own beliefs about it, but check in with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. If you're frustrated and not meeting the goals that you want in life, or whatever that may be for you, take inventory of your time. And there you go. Awesome. I think that'll answer a lot of it. So What rituals make the biggest impact in your life?
The number 1 ritual for me is meditation and the practice of meditation. And, that ritual every morning, it's 20 minutes. I have a focus time. That, and then setting my intentions for the day. Those 2 things become an absolute North Star. settling, and it doesn't have to be meditation for everyone, but it can be self-reflection. But I meditate. That trains my mind to be present, and when it goes off track, to come back. So that is the biggest ritual for me, is a daily practice of meditation before I start my day.
What are you reading or listening to that you would recommend to our abundant leaders, and why?
I just finished the Goggins book, You Can't Hurt Me.
You kidding me? Did you listen to it or read it?
I listened to it. I listened to it. And I actually, this is a funny story. I almost was ready to turn my transcript in, and I had the opportunity to add a quote from, it was not actually a quote and his technique, and it's the accountability mirror. So with the time cleanse, once you're done, you got your time back, you rescued, 20 plus hours, you reinvested it. And then when you reinvest it, you calendar it. So I added his technique in the book, which is basically looking at your calendar at the end of the day, looking at yourself in the mirror and asking yourself, did I follow through with my commitments? He calls the accountability mirror. And if you haven't, be brutally honest why and make the corrections. And then his quote is, it's okay to take a day off, just not today.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys, by this point, or maybe not, because in either case, that book, if you're going to get it, first off, get it. Second, get it on audio, because it's the most unique audio book I've listened to yet. Extremely, just an experience, to say the least. Third, I will throw out there, if you get offended by language, get over it and get the book. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Yes. We all have our way of communicating. That's his.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. And you couldn't do it any other way, as far as I'm concerned. Not from a guy like that.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. So what do you feel holds most people back from living a life of true abundance?
I think that their old programming that was instilled, the old belief systems, the people around them, and those blind spots that are no longer true. When I told the story about my football career, I had a blind spot that I was only going to be a successful human being and had any value unless I was an elite athlete. And so what's holding people back is they're not stopping to evaluate their beliefs and where they're spending their time. And that's the unique process that I support in the book and in life, is to stop and evaluate. Am I doing the right things in the right way? And just that pause can be transformational with insight, creativity, and a new direction. But we've got to stop. We've got to get off the technology and evaluate with curiosity and be kind, but be truthful with yourself. Be truthful. We're in this world where so many people are afraid to tell the truth or be brutally honest. We've got to be brutally honest in a kind way that gives us the opportunity to step in and go, how can I improve? How can I be better? How can I make a difference for me and be relevant for the collective that then comes back to me in the full cycle of life?
Thanks for sharing that. It's extremely important, guys, to take heed to what he just said. It's so important for you to be able to be truthful with yourself and then make adjustments as needed. And all we're doing here anyway, is sharing a few techniques that might help you in your life in regard to that.
Absolutely, Wally. And this is what I say, whatever I coach, do, write, speak on, I've done it, I've practiced it, I've coached it, I broke it, I rebuilt it, but take whatever you hear from me and make it better. Use what works for you. We're all individuals.
So what does living a life of abundance mean to you?
It's to have the time to invest in what matters most in my life. It's that simple.
Yeah. And what is that?
Quality connection with the people I love and people that I don't even know. It's really being present and to see other human beings for who they are, honoring the similarities and the differences, and to be in that connection where we're sharing love and being of service with each other. That's what it means to me.
So, brother, we are going to close this up. We are definitely going to have StephenGriffith.com, and you threw in a /abundance. Is that right?
That's correct. So, for your listeners, I got a free time cleanse performance report there with tools and tactics to maximize your productivity, get your time back. And then also, Wally, for any of your listeners that order the book, I'm giving them a free masterclass. It's an eight-part video series where I take them step by step through the time cleanse process. That's a gift to your listeners. It's at the same web address.
Excellent, man. I love that. I greatly appreciate that too. So what else did we not talk about you want to ensure that our abundant leaders get out of our conversation today?
I think you've done an amazing job in your questions. I think, the last thing is just remember this phrase that I use. There's only one time, and it's right now. And there's only one direction, and it's forward. Just remember, everything you're doing is your legacy.
Great conversation. I greatly appreciate your time, man. Go out, live your life of abundance, and keep paying it forward, Stephen. It's making a huge, huge difference. It certainly has in this short time that you and I have had the conversation and from what I've seen of you so far.
Thank you, Wally, and thank you for creating an amazing platform for men to be the best they can.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so your action step today is to take inventory of where your time is being spent and then adjust accordingly. If you're into technology like I am, then explore some of the apps that are out there that can help you determine where your time is being spent and where you need to make adjustments. And of course, as you know, information is only power when it's shared and acted upon. So share Men of Abundance with everyone you come in contact with. Now, go out and live your life of abundance. And make sure to pay it forward.
That's all for today, Abundance Leaders. For more about our guests and the powerful information we shared with you today, be sure to sign up for our mailing list at menofabundance.com. We appreciate your time and look forward to hanging out with you on our next episode. So until then, be sure to pay it forward and live your life of abundance.